All right, guys, we are live. Search for Huru. I have the brother Awini Baba with me today, and this afternoon we're going to be discussing the nation state versus the territorial state. And I'm going to take a guess on in what we're going to be discussing in detail. And correct me if I'm wrong, Awini. Africa is very tribal. Am I correct?
Very
Awini,
what?
tribal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So can
Mm-hmm.
can can tribes put
Mm-hmm.
nation first instead of tribe
Mm-hmm.
first, and focus on the collective as a nation instead of focusing on the collective as an individual tribes? Is that what we're going to be discussing in detail today? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah. Well, that's part of it, but
Okay.
we still have to remember that it was not our choice to form nations. It is
Correct.
it is it is when the Europeans colonized Africa that they carved it up and chopped it up.
At the Berlin conference. Am I correct?
Exactly. Yes, and they chopped it up according to their own, whatever logic. Because I can give you an example. My mother has one side of her family in Ghana and another side in Burkina
Hmm.
Faso. You see, so these creation borders had no regard for the territories, the
Right.
ethnic territories, and this is still what Africa is struggling with. And if we're going to overcome it, definitely, I would agree with what you're saying. Is we have to now look at ourselves differently because we were not informed about, you know, or consulted about the formation of nation states. I'll give you another example. Uh, you take the Akan group. The Akan group stretches from Ghana into Ivory Coast.
Hmm.
You go to Ivory Coast, you find the Ashanti also there. You find the Enzima also in Ivory Coast. So the creation of new nation states had no regard for territorial states. You see,
Right.
and because we were not consulted, uh, we are we are faced with this problem. A problem that we did not create. We are to blame for some of it, but I'm talking about the creation of the nation state without due consultation and orientation
Right.
was not our making.
So let,
Hmm.
let me ask you this, Winnie. So, and correct me if I'm wrong. Asia was colonialized as well, but from the outside looking in, even though they're colonialized and even though nations were created, it seems like they are functioning better than we say Africa. Why is that? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
It depends on how you look at it. If you look at, for instance, Japan,
Hmm.
Japan before even colonialism, it had a pretty much central system, and the emperor ruled. I want people to correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I know about Japan, it had this, central system where it was the emperor who ruled and even tried to colonize other parts of Asia, such as Korea and China and what have you.
Hmm.
So, to some extent, there was a sense of centralization, and everything was a bit unified by that force. You look at India. India also had a similar thing with the Mughal, empire, and you in studying Asia, you see the rise and fall of several dynasties.
Hmm.
You see, and in Africa, I think that the difference is that Africa was more. We had a lot of powerful states as well, rising and falling, but at any given point in time, you could find a sizable number of states, powerful states that coexisted with each other
Hmm.
without necessarily making it their job to conquer, unify. You look at Nigeria. For instance, there was a lady from up north of Nigeria who at one point in time almost, conquered the whole of Nigeria. The
Amina,
name doesn't come to.
Amina, correct? Was it Amina?
Yeah, it was a Muslim name, but I think so.
I
Uh,
think her name is
I
Amina.
stand corrected. You look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia also had a similar unified sort of system where the emperor Haile Selassie and those who came before him, Emperor Menelik and others, used their force, the state, the territory. At one point, Aksum ruled all the way to what is now called Saudi Arabia and Yemen,
Correct.
uh, and stretching going toward Egypt. So you find that the difference, I think, with Asia is that those powerful Asian, monarchs did not necessarily die off colonialism. You see, and because of this, there was still some sense of unity, or a solitary or unit in their case. But in our case, that was not so. In our case, we had a series of powerful kingdoms, some coming before others, but at a certain point they coexisted. They existed around the same time. The Benin Kingdom existed, going all the way to Songhai, you
Hmm.
know, the Mali system, the Ghana, ancient Ghana Empire, the Kushite, and so
Hmm.
on and so forth. The Akan system, you know. So you find all of these, you know, exercising their power within their territory, and they were okay with this. And there were even friendships, among the people, the several empires and kingdoms. You see,
Hmm.
so that's the difference I see. That when you have a system such as what you find in Japan, where it's the emperor who rules, then it's easier to deal with a nation state, which is not very different in terms of, you know, centralizing and bringing everybody under, one system. It's not as difficult as it would be if they were fragmented and you had different kingdoms, or empires existing within that same space.
Let me ask you this. So you mentioned different ethnic groups coexisting with amongst one another, and not really
Mhm.
fighting, I guess. But then you have an example of Shaka Zulu,
Yeah,
who
the Zulu Empire.
united, who forced the
Uh-huh.
different tribes to unite, by the spear.
Yeah.
Do you think, and this is my question, since Africans are so divided, okay, by tribe, nation. Do you think we need another Shaka Zulu to reincarnate and forcefully unite everybody?
No, by all means not. I need to make this distinction. I'm not saying the Asian system was without shedding of blood. These a lot of the empires and their expansion and so on and so forth were done, by shedding blood.
Hmm.
And in Africa, it wasn't that different. All I'm saying, the difference I see with Africa is after the expansion, there was not so much ambition to keep on expanding and expanding and expanding. You
Hmm.
know, uh, Perhaps because certain empires, met strong, equally strong foe, and therefore there had
Hmm.
to be a truce. There had to be a truce. And so this is the reason why, at a point in time, in my view, at a point in time, there was no more need for fighting. You see, among big groups, big empires, there was no need for that. There was more need for collaboration and friendship, you know, in order to rule. But as to your question about, the need for a Shaka Zulu style No, I don't. You see, the problem with to unite is that they still don't get the point for the unity.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to and make people see the need for unity. I don't at this point in time. I don't think any violent solve any problem at all.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, do you
That's
believe, somebody in the chat room is asking, do you believe in absolute monarchy?
well, it depends. It depends. I'll give you an example. Gaddafi, overthrew a monarchy. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently, in the wake of the uprising and so on, this was used against Gaddafi. Members of the clan that was overthrown, they will forever hate Gaddafi for sure, right?
Right.
So we
I mean,
don't
that's the same way with Iran, with the Shah of Iran being overthrown by the Muslim
yeah.
revolution,
So
or Islamic revolution, or whatever. With the
so I guess it depends on the structures of the monarchy. If the structures, I'll give you an example. Britain is still pretty much ruled by the Queen. People are going to deny the
no,
fact.
I agree with
If you
you. I agree with you absolutely.
so why can't we have monarchies and have democracies exist within them? It depends on how much power the monarchy is willing to devolve
Mm-hmm.
and give. Uh, so it depends on the structures. If a monarchy is willing to put in place the structures, uh, but for Africa right now, I don't really see how it's going to work because we're not gonna want to come under a monarch that is not from their ethnic group.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result of that, what we will create is another series of states, territorial states, be equally bad for Africa.
Okay. Somebody in the chat room made a good freaking point. In Europe, he said, what German is claiming Visigoth? Like, you don't hear Asians really or Europeans really claiming a tribe.
Mm.
But it's very common in Africa still for this reason. As we become more progressive, how necessary is it for Africans to stop operating tribally or claiming a tribe? Because the guy,
Well,
like what Traveling Man said, he's absolutely right. You don't hear any German talk about I'm Visigoth or I'm this tribe or I'm that tribe.
yeah, well, to an extent. But do you know that Germans from Bavaria are very proud to be Bavarians, and at a point in time they were advocating for their own part of Germany. Catalonia is claiming, is clinging to its roots and claiming it wants a state of its own. You see, this issue is not unique to Africa. I personally think that the creation of nation states by foreign entities, you see, it made it difficult for people to coexist within a unitary state. In Ghana, I'll give you an example. In Ghana, when Ghana was being formed formally, Ghana was formed from four different parts of the country that you call Ghana now. There was the coastal Ghana, which is the Gold Coast proper.
Mm-hmm.
Ghana used to be Gold Coast. Gold Coast proper was just the coast of Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Ashanti territory, further up from the coast in the forest zone. Then you have the Transvolta Togoland, which is now Volta region. You have the northern territories, which is where I come from. Now, when Nkrumah, we pushed for independence, he was able to bring all these four to form what is now Ghana. You see, but again, even as they were, there were still problems because if you call a place, Northern Territories, there are different ethnic groups in the Northern Territories, and there's always struggle for resources and what have you. So I feel strongly that the drive for creation of nation states was not done in proper consultation. This is what is happening in Nigeria now. You see, with people in the south of Nigeria feeling that Nigerians are dominating, because they have the population. They are more than the south,
Mm-hmm.
more territory, and so on. Uh, and so this is basically what is pushing for this Biafra thing, and people want their own country and so on. Why? Because when we were the people who colonized us were galvanizing or slicing up Africa, they did it without regard to any rules. I can show you wars in Ghana that were, if you trace the history, they were created. The stage was set for these things to happen because foreigners from Europe came here and just appointed people they wanted as sub chiefs, and they wanted a system of indirect rule, and whoever did not bow to them, they would get you out and put an African in charge. And this sowed the seeds for conflicts that would come later on when they left, because people will come back and say, that's not the tradition, and you came here illegally because the white man put you here to help him rule. Now that he's gone, you have to leave. And then the incumbent chief also resists, and it becomes ugly. So it's very dangerous to have a foreigner come into a system which he does not understand, and then seek to divide that system, according to what he thinks is right for him to rule. And that has been the problem of Africa. I'll give you another example. In the
Go ahead.
UK, has a problem too. The Scottish people, they are proud of being Scottish. They're not English. They're not English, and they have to literally fight. The English had to literally fight with the Scottish in order to annex Scotland and make it part of the United Kingdom. They had to do a similar thing to Ireland. That's why Ireland is still very hostile and divided, because the Irish people, after several attempts of independence, voted massively for independence from the UK or Britain. And the UK still succeeded in dividing Ireland and keeping part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happened to the Welsh in Wales. These are people who speak their own language. They don't speak English, you see. So if you, in order to understand the nature of these things, it's not that different from Africa, actually. You see, uh, uh, it's basically the same. When you have a group of people who are proud of who they are, and a more dominant power comes and seeks to annex their territory into the more dominant territory, there's going to be resistance, and some of the resistance is still there till now. That is why Ireland is still divided as we speak.
Okay.
You see.
Let's see if we have any questions in the chat room. But do you think, Awini, moving forward, in order to move forward, do we have to get rid of tribal identity? Because again, the Scots operate as the Scots, but I'm pretty sure at one time there were probably a number of different tribes in that land known as Scotland. Same thing with that whole UK area. Same thing with France. Same thing with all these in all these areas. They were a number of different tribes, and then they finally came together as one. Do you think we need to get rid of tribal identity? And not only that, we have to talk about
that would be a difficult, almost impossible.
and not only that, since we're talking about nation state versus territorial state, we're also separating and dividing as Africans by religion as well, heavily by religion.
No, yeah, I mean, it's a whole complex, you know, you know. Hello?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here. It's a lot of background noise. Awini.
Hello?
Yeah. We hear you. It's a lot of background noise. Like you're moving your phone, like you're rubbing your phone, like your phone is in your pocket. Like it's a lot of background noise.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We hear you. We hear you. Awini. Oh, we lost him. All right. Hopefully he'll come back soon. But you know, sometimes the where he's located in northern Ghana, sometimes the Wi-Fi isn't the best. Let's see here. African leaders are screwing over their own tribesmen, so tribal identity is not the issue. I still think it's part of the issue because, I mean, correct, they're screwing over their own tribes, but I mean, they're also screwing over the other tribes. I think coming together as one, you know, one identity. I'm gonna say this right now, Africans, there's no reason, no excuse for us to be divided by not only tribes, we're divided by religion, we have colorism, we have so many issues that divide us versus every other group of people on this planet. I'm all for one central religion for now until we get our act together. One tribe, that's just African. And I think it would be easier for us to, I guess, make moves and get done what we need to do. That's what I'm for, because we're not disciplined enough or united enough to have the claim different tribes, different religions, you know, different hoods. It just needs to be one tribe, one religion, and that's it. That's what I'm for. Okay, well, right now we identify as Africans. Okay, Africa might not be the original name. I doubt Aki Kabulan or whatever I heard. I doubt that's the original name as well. So, again, right now, just because of where we're currently at, and so we can stay within context, Africa or Africans, that would be the name of the one tribe. Unless somebody else could just come up with something better. But that's what I'm for. Hopefully, Winnie comes back on. Yeah, I mean, it's just an idea. But I think right now, the Chinese or Japanese have people doing eye surgery to look like white people. Okay, what's that got to do with us? All right, I think Awini's coming back on, you guys. Awini. Awini. Awini.
Yeah.
You there? Awini. I hear you. We hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Hello?
Go ahead. Go. We hear you. You can't hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, Awini. Can you hear me? Awini. We need to get you Xfinity Wi-Fi wherever you're at. Some people have issues with Xfinity. I love Xfinity. I have no issues with Xfinity Wi-Fi. We need to get you Xfinity Wi-Fi up there in northern Ghana. Or better yet, we create something better and more reliable in northern Ghana. Yeah, there's the ingenuity is there. So that's what we need to do. Yeah, he just dropped back off. But I mean, that's what I'm for. I'm for just one tribe, one central religion. In fact, I'm for um, until we get it together, just abandoning religion altogether, putting down the books and just grinding
Hello?
and getting to work. Awini,
I'm back.
yeah, you're back.
The line
Okay,
got bad.
we're happy. We thought you got abducted by aliens, so you're back. We're glad to have you back. But go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I was saying, you see, the issue of ethnic identity, not to digress from the topic, is it's very important for for Africans. You can, you see, people want to identify, as who they are. Now, the new challenge is to expand that identity. That's all we need to do. We cannot take away that identity. What we need to do is to expand it by showing the linkages that these ethnic groups have with each other in the first place. You see, so that as we progress, we become more unified and see, you know, our commonalities rather than differences. You see, and I believe that should be the way forward. If you come, I'll give you an example. I'm speaking as someone who comes from northern Ghana. Tracking the tribes, I believe that from northern Ghana, stretching all the way through to Senegal, Mali, and Senegal, is basically the same people.
Yeah, yeah.
Based on language, on dress, you
Okay.
know,
Uh-huh.
uh, based on tradition, cultural practices, based on all of that. It's just the same people who split way back, and as a result of dynamism, you know, we developed some differences and got in contact with different kinds of people and picked up some things and dropped off others. But it's basically the same culture. We all up north, we say we come from one grandfather called Bewa, and there's a shrine, to his name that is named after him. That is very important to a lot of us, not a lot of the northern tribes. South of Ghana, and you encounter the Akan. Now, the Akan also have links with some northern, again, you see, by virtue of language, and by virtue of the cultural practices, you see. So, generally speaking, uh, we were, the same people, and we still are the same people, but during before our migration, present, wherever other themselves, you see. So why home this point of
Hey,
differences
we're
going
losing
on to
we're losing you, Awini.
know, I didn't help us, did it? Yeah, hello?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Hello?
you were going in and out, but I think we got you back.
Am I breaking?
No, you're fine now. Go ahead.
Uh, me now.
Yeah, you're going in and out a little bit.
Okay, so I was saying that why are we clinging on to, ethnic minor differences, You know, hello,
Yeah,
yeah.
we hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, why are we clinging in ethnicity?
Right. That's the question. Why are we doing
Are you
that?
hearing me?
Yeah, we hear you. Weenie, go ahead.
When we can, uh-huh. Yeah. So the issue of ethnic pride didn't help us, did it? Because if it did, then Africa wouldn't be colonized,
Now, okay. Now, is it
right?
ethnic pride or is it that Europeans had guns?
Because it is because no. I refuse that. You see, people, do you know that Africans also had the guns? We, you forget that there was a lot of trade between Africans and Arabs before the Europeans got here, and that's why when you look at the victory of you know uh,
Hey, you're going in and out, Weenie.
of Ethiopia in the war of Adwa with am I clear? Hello?
Yeah, you're
Am I
going in and
clear?
out.
I'm okay, okay.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh yeah, so I was saying that the issue of the Europeans had, I said, without unity, uh it wouldn't have allowed others to come and take advantage of us. But uh and I am showing that in Ethiopia, Menelik successfully won a war against the Italians with guns.
Okay,
You know,
and I somewhat disagree with you on that. From what I understand, the
mm,
Ethiopians and the Italians were somewhat at a draw. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were definitely fighting off the Italians, but then when World War II started, the Allies, America and England and whatnot, they actually came in and finished the job. That, from my understanding, that's what I've been told.
yeah, but not only that war, but what of the war that Emperor Haile Selassie won? Guns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my point is, if Africa had that unified, approach, then it would not matter, about guns, because we know that these are instruments of trade, and we know that with unity we would have linked up with some of our people who had access to these weapons, and we would have, armed ourselves.
Mm.
So yeah, so I mean, pretty much, you look at China, Japan, and so on, and North Korea, that is making a lot of waves in the world right now, and so on. It's not because the North Koreans are genetically superior. It's just because they have invested in weaponry, and weapons are
Mm-hmm.
available to whoever wants to invest in them.
Right.
That's the way it has been. They are tools of trade, and so basic lack of unity that led to Africa, because the Fanti all out, the British capital of Ghana used to be in Cape Coast,
Mm-hmm.
you see, and because the Fanti had a fallout with the British, they moved the capital to Accra. It's now called Accra, you see. So resisted, along the coast. The coast is very important, you know, for
we're losing you, Awini. Awini.
because you have by water.
I'm saying we're
You know,
losing you.
definitely not fine.
Awini. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, we're losing you. We were losing you.
Hello.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's better now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Awini, you there? All right, but people in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. From my understanding, when the Italians invaded Ethiopia, they were somewhat at a stalemate, the Ethiopians with the Italians. And then when World War II started, the Americans, the Allied forces came in and finished the job. Am I wrong, or am I right or am I wrong? Somebody in the chat room. Or I could be wrong, because as Awini said, the Italians invaded them more than once. Yeah, we got to get some Xfinity out there in northern Ghana. But I mean, I'm sure they have the ingenuity in Ghana, in Africa, to have some of the fastest Wi-Fi you could think of. I know it's there. It has to be there. Because I know the Wi-Fi in Kenya is awesome. But yeah, but I think that's what separated Ethiopia for the most part from everywhere else, is they invested in their military. And to be more specific, they invested in getting weapons and arms, versus everyone else in Africa were just like, you know, we're going to handle it strictly spiritually and no weapons. And we see how that played out. I know Tariq Nasheed talks a lot about that. All right, Awini, you're back. Okay, we thought you got kicked out by aliens again.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. Awini.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. We hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you. We hear you.
Uh,
We hear you. Yeah, we hear you just fine. Go ahead. Awini. All right, you guys. Yeah, it's just the Wi-Fi where Awini is going in and out. You know, it's sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. So, you know, we need to have a conversation with the Ghanaian president about getting some T1 lines or whatever fiber optic lines ran throughout northern Ghana. So somebody needs to holler at the president of Ghana for us, you know. But yeah, but that's the issue, I think, in regards to really, you know, the topic is the nation state versus the territorial state. And he is right. Nations were drawn up by Europeans before colonialism at the Berlin Conference. So go ahead. Awini.
Yeah. Hello?
I hear you somewhat.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We hear you. But
Hello?
Awini, we hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you, Awini. Yeah, we hear you.
Today, I don't know, think
I mean,
it's
you probably have to turn your video off. You're gonna have to turn your video off.
The link is very bad today.
Winnie, turn the video off.
Let me see. All right. All right. So I'm clear. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear us? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's off.
Winnie.
You see any lights? No, it's video off. Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I was trying to make my point is, the success of, Africa can largely be, it can largely be blamed on lack of unity and the lack of, look, why some of our people trying to the other members of our family, they now see the need. That's the issue, because you have people who came through coast. Now, if there was a unity action on to even prevent, any, establishment of, these castle forts all over the coast of Ghana. It's just a basic lack of awareness, and that's pretty much it. Is certain groups in Africa enjoy certain privileges they have for unity. They don't want unity.
Hey, yeah, we're losing you, Winnie.
Everybody dealing with the issue. They want more privileges, because for whatever reason they think, sell Africa to these invaders. That's 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 a big
Winnie.
many people like to public big when you
Winnie, the connection is bad, man.
to be learning, but right, the groups of people that always want the lion's share. Oh man, I don't know what's the problem today, but let me see. Hello.
Yeah, I mean, you sound fine now. It's just
Okay.
everything you said previously, we didn't hear. But you sound fine now.
Where did I leave off?
We couldn't really hear anything. Everything was going in and out.
Okay, so I was trying to talk about the fact that a lot of the invasions into Africa would not have been if Africans had a common sense of belonging. You see, so you have people come through the coast. If there was a unified resistance, invaders landing on our coast, they wouldn't be able to build all these forts and castles. Who built them?
Mm.
And how long did it take these people to build them? They were collaborating with the locals, and some of the locals, didn't know what they were getting into. In all honesty, you
Right.
see, and that's why some of them, when they realize, how bad the intentions of some of the invaders were, they went to war against them.
But
Uh,
it was too late.
there hasn't, yeah, but it wasn't a unified front. you know it wasn't a unified front. That's the issue, because whenever you find in Africa people agitating, it's for their own selfish benefit. And that's the problem of Africa, or lack of unity, is there are certain ethnic groups, and individuals in Africa who enjoy privileges.
Hmm.
And these individuals, it's not in their interest to seek unity in Africa. Unity is bad for them, because when Africa unifies, it means they have to lose their privilege,
Right.
and they will fight you. They will fight you harder than the enemy, in order to keep that privilege,
Hmm.
and they won't hesitate. They won't hesitate to get rid of you privilege, because they have been brainwashed to believe that they're better than everybody else. And so the invader gave them a pat on the back and told them how great they are. It's all divide and rule. Told them how great they are, and why they should collaborate with the invader and forget about everybody else. Sorry to say, there are African groups in Africa who don't see their fellow Africans as human beings. They don't they don't care about anybody but themselves, continue from their relationship with the invader, and foreign interests, who don't have the interests of Africa. And these are the people who are ruling Africa. Just situation, basically what it is the class ruling Africa based on ethnicity, and
So let me
sometimes
ask you this:
religion.
should there be a
And
time where we start calling out the specific tribes that we
Mhm.
know that are being supported and funded by the West, or who are selling out to the West?
Yeah, I mean, people, people have always done that, and they're still doing it on a daily basis. Why? Because let me give you a scenario. Uh, if without the ideological, we won't get far. Look, let's say we live in a neighborhood,
Hmm.
land, and there happens to be some gold. There happens to be some gold on that land, and we live in the same neighborhood, right? You say the gold belongs to you, and for that matter, you don't care about everybody else in the neighborhood. All you care about is how you can make some money from this gold,
Right.
and to hell with everybody. That's what's going on, with the resource grabbing. Is that some people who are more resource rich than others, than others, they don't see the need why else should benefit through a unified system. They don't see why, and that was a problem in Ghana at a point in time. Certain groups of people in Ghana wanted they wanted a federal state system. They wanted to keep their state and keep their resources to themselves. Unfortunately, they didn't win the argument, and Ghana is a unitary. Uh, there is still a lot of deep-seated, division, and certain people in certain parts of the country that have more resources feel that for the government to take their resources and for everybody to benefit equally is a cheat. You see, so the ideological training sunk in yet. You see, it has not sunk in, and that is an area we need to place a lot of focus. Is the concept of an African unity is paramount, and we should all. And the irony is, Africa has now embraced Christianity and Islam and uh, these indigenous religions, but they don't want to share anything. Tells
Right.
them to share. Hmm. You see the irony. Uh, so it's a situation that really needs to be addressed, but to go to not to veer off from what we're trying to say in this. When you look at Africa, you know,
Mhm.
must look at it first as a the original design. You see, so I'll give you instance where you know there has been you come when you go to
We're losing you again, Weenie.
like I think the wall of I believe that the Sierra they have a joke with another group the Tokolo. Yeah,
Yeah, you're going in and out. I know the Sarah tribes of Senegal and the Wolof tribe is the major tribe of Senegal.
yeah, they have joking relationships with other groups in the same space. You
Mhm.
see, uh it's good. These joking relationships tighten our bonds. You see, and you come to Ghana, we also have joking relationships. Almost every group has a joking relationship with a different tribe, and so on, and it helps foster unity. What has not taken place in Africa in the creation of the nation states is that we have not done the orientation properly. And people just woke up one day and they were told they're Ghanaians,
Mm.
you see, and Nigerians, and whatever that means, people don't know. People have to be oriented, and this is not a one-off event. It is a process of orientation. You see, in order for there to be the needed collaboration among different groups of people. Some of them did not get along that well or nation states because some of them fought each other for some resources and all healed. You see, and the
Mhm.
only way to heal these wounds is to have of a detailed process of
I think we're losing
and
you again.
train.
Um,
This is at the heart of yeah, at the heart of the debate between people are saying the territorial state was better than the nation state, but we must admit and realize is that we are living in nation states, and if we are going to make any progress, we are going to have to at least work with what you see. When we do this, some of them do not help in bringing unity. They further divide Africa, and it's easier to rule a divided people
correct.
than to rule a unified people. So a lot of our politicians, they're not interested in unity. Because if they were, we would have seen them put, all the resources at their disposal to unifying people and propping up, the ideology, of this oneness. You see, so uh, we need to get back to that understanding. You see, of why it is that we are embarking on this, experiment of nation states. And you can see certain nations are failed states. People call Somalia a failed state, and so on and so forth. You know, with the required, resources, and usually the politicians have access to these resources, we can make things move. We can make things move. It's not an issue at all. You see, but almost certain that the politicians are not going to do that. Why?
Mm.
Because it's easier for them to rule and enjoy their privileges this way.
I
You see.
agree. So what do we
So
do? So what do we do to get? Okay, so what do we do to? I guess I'm trying to think of the correct way to say this. How do we get the politicians on the same page?
no, they won't get on the same page. They know the issue. The politicians, you see, we have to give them credit. They are smart people. They're not dumb. They know what's going on. They know it more than us. You see, what we need to do is, I have no hope in politicians. At least those of today, I have no hope in them. Whatever they could have done, they have done already. So we need to look to ourselves
Hmm.
and forget about politicians. I have no trust in them to bring unity, because all of them, whenever they go in, they're seeking to gain a political end. They're always protecting the political party and what have you, which creates more division. You see, so I don't want to bring them into this equation at all. When they see us moving toward unity, they will be forced to go with us. But I
Mhm.
don't expect them to lead much, because some of them, some of them are afraid of losing votes. For instance, if they advocate too much for unity that is in the short term bad for certain groups who are enjoying privileges, then there's revolt and what have you. So the basic thing we can keep doing, and that's what we're doing now, is to raise level and to push the ideology of Africa and keep pushing it. It's come a long way. I'm not saying we're not. Yeah, you know, it has come a long way. Seeing people now associate with Africa generally, especially when Africa is competing, on the international stage. You
Mhm.
see, identify with each other. We're just saying that it has to become so part and parcel of our lives that it rules everything. You see, we don't make it an event. We make it an integral part of our everyday lives, and it
Absolutely.
still doesn't stop us from being proud of our ethnicity. There's nothing wrong with ethnic pride. It's just that when it's misplaced, it becomes a problem. You see, it becomes a problem. So if you are proud of your ethnic group, that's a good thing. But don't let that pride let you or give you the audacity, or make you feel big headed, make you look down on the next brother from a different group altogether.
Mhm.
Because that's the dangerous ethnic pride that we have to fight. Is that ethnic pride that makes certain people feel untouchable, and that they can do whatever they want because they are in control of the means, and so on and so forth. You see. So that's what we need to fight. But if you're portraying ethnic pride as people who are proud of, their culture and a lot of, good things in their culture they want to put out there so people can benefit, why not? That's a good thing, you see. But if you want to be proud of your ethnicity and you think that you're better than everybody else, then that's very dangerous.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what we're fighting. So, do we have any questions in the chat?
Let's see. Any questions in the chat room, and then we'll take a couple questions, and then I'll allow the brother Awini to close it out. Let's see here. Any questions? Okay, Awini, how do you? Okay, let me ask you this question, and people keep bringing it up in the chat room. Religion.
Mm,
How do you think?
mm.
What role do you think religion will play in regards to uniting Africa?
Yeah, I think religion has united Africa more than people give it credit for. Why? Because uh, I'll take Islam, right? Islam will advocate that whoever is practicing the religion is your brother. So now, if you have two tribes or ethnic groups that previously, had a problem with each other, they are unified by Islam. You see, and that's a good thing. I just think that our approach to religion should be like what Professor Clark said. Professor Clark said that when you join a religion, you join it and you make it an instrument of your liberation, and
Mm.
that anything that touches your life that fails to be an instrument of your liberation should be thrown into the ash can of history. And that is my position on religion is you cannot control what somebody believes, what they want to believe, but if their belief system does not bring them into conflict with coexisting with their neighbors, then there's no problem. You
Mm.
see, so that we don't antagonize the African community and further divide it, because even in America you have Black Hebrew Israelites, you have Nation of Islam, you have the Shriners, you have all of this going on, but it's all the same. It's all love. It's all Black people.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we got any other
You
questions.
see.
We'll ask this last question. Out of the 54 African countries, which one do you think is doing the best or showing the most upside?
In terms of,
I mean, just overall. Let's just keep it simple, I guess.
it, I wouldn't. It's a difficult thing to do, but you know, I would say most of them are doing well. I mean, given their different circumstances and challenges, most of them are doing well. It's only a few African states, that have problems. Last time Somalia is having a problem with, bombings and terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
In Kenya, one of my mentors, Kofi Awuno, a very, very Pan-Africanist writer. He got killed in a mall bombing in Kenya. But I wouldn't write Kenya off as a state that is insecure. I just think it's difficult to pick one, but I think generally, when you I look at West Africa, for instance, uh, most of the states are doing well, except for what's happening in Togo right now.
Mm-hmm.
With tension there. It depends on what you're looking at. In Ghana, at least I can be proud and say there is religious tolerance. We have uh, the traditionalists who have a voice. We have a council, the Association of Psychic Healers. And all the traditionalists fall under this umbrella. And I can only speak for what I know. Ghana, and we have not way herbal medicine because we also have an association for herbal medicine, and it's functioning and it's given the legal backing. You know, we seem to be coexisting. We're just saying that we need to strengthen the links and make things happen. In certain countries, they have the different. Certain countries are more like in Senegal. It's more Islamic in
Hmm.
terms of the dominant religion. So you won't find issues of religious intolerance as you would see them in, let's say, Nigeria,
Hmm.
which has that mix. You see, but I think that every country is trying to deal with the issues. In terms of stability, I would say, Ghana is stable and has been stable, you know, uh, for as long as I know. Uh, you know, Benin is not doing bad from what I know.
I've been to Benin.
Uh,
I've been to Benin. Benin very nice country. I've been to Benin.
yeah, and they're proud of being African. Benin is the only country in Africa where
And
African tradition,
indigenous religion is their official religion.
and they have a voodoo festival every 10th of
I go.
January.
I'll
The-
be going again this year. I went last year.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a good thing. The economies of the southern Africa also seem to be doing well. Namibia, Botswana, stretching to the east, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya. So generally speaking, it depends on which country you're looking at. There are a lot of good options out there, honestly, and sometimes you have to pick a system that resonates well with your being.
Hmm.
You see, so sometimes it's good to look around and see. I would say, based on I've traveled a bit, based on what I know, Ghana is a very open and welcoming country,
Hmm.
without a doubt. And even the Africans who can testify to this fact, you know, uh, we have recently even made it possible for a lot of African countries to come here without a visa. You
Hmm.
come in, you pretty much get it at the point of entry. You don't need to book a visa to, come here. Uh, I would like to maybe next time. I want to do a little bit of digging on, the repatriation issue and what
Yeah,
the
because people keep
legal.
asking about that, but it's funny. The people who live here in America, they romanticize it, but people who live in Ghana, they explain it as a completely different process. And like I know a lot of Black Americans live in Ghana who aren't even, unless they're married to a Ghanaian, they're not even really full citizens yet. So yeah, we got to talk about that.
So I want to do a little bit of digging on this because I know day in and out there are new policies. I know about collaboration between Ghana and Cuba and Trinidad and Tobago. Apparently, we can go to those countries without visas, and they can come here as well. Uh, I don't know about the repatriation issue. I I know a little bit about it, but I don't want to speak on, a subject this important without having, doing the necessary checks. So I'd like
Okay.
to do the checks and speak on that because I find it very sad, actually, that would have, our people in America or in the Americas generally, and problems coming to Africa.
Hmm.
I don't think, I find it very unjust because black people in America, in the Americas generally, have as much right to come to Africa uh, than as any African in Africa already.
I
And
agree.
this issue has discussed, and this is something we can petition, you know, the politicians and make the argument. Because I know there have been some moves. Ghana is, you know, making a lot of moves to make it easier, but it should be easy, you know, because uh, we need, sometimes we need to disregard, you know, international immigration. These are all impediments that I don't really give much respect to. In all honesty, you know, people should our people should be able to move freely to Africa, because how would you feel if you say, okay, you know, I'm going to my motherland, and then you get to your motherland and you're treated as a foreigner, period. You're treated just like every other foreigner that is not, you know, African. So where is the African unity, and how is the you know, identity with our people, you know, in other parts of the world? You see,
I agree.
so we need to, you know, make a move and really petition a lot of the African countries, including the AU, about this issue.
Absolutely. So, hey,
So
Awini, go ahead and close out. Everybody, I posted Awini's GoFundMe in the chat room. I'm also going to post it in the description box as well. Make sure you guys go to search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. If this is your first time coming on the page, please like and subscribe to videos. Also, go to dynasamir.com, go to searchforuhuru.com, and make sure you go to amazon.com as well and search your name, Dynasamir. Awini, you have the floor. Go ahead and close out.
all right, thank you. So I want to thank everybody for, you know, following the conversation. I know it's been, you know, a bit scrappy, you know, with the breaking and going on and off and so on. But basically, all these discussions are meant to give you an insight. You know, I prefer for you to know what's happening in Africa rather than romanticize and sugarcoat it. I mean, I'm a realist, and you know, I like to keep having these conversations so people know the challenge of Africa. I've heard people, you know, discuss in the diaspora, you know, about Africa, and you know, saying a lot of things that, you know, they're not really sure about. And I hope that we can keep having these conversations, and you know, I can keep sharing my experience, and you can keep sharing your experience with me, and the general African listening public, and we can keep bridging the gap, because there's a lot of misconception about Africa to the world, and about, you know, African diaspora to Africa, that's led to a lot of confusion. A lot of African Americans, when they come here, they are shocked at the level of, you know, unity and love that our people show toward them, because some of them are, you know, they have, I think it's a misconception that they are driven into in America, that want, you know, to have anything to do with African Americans and so on. That's a big misconception. That's the biggest lie I've ever heard. I'm telling you this for a fact, and Dinas can vouch for that. You know, Africans have been always, you know, welcoming to, you know, our people. It's just you have to make a difference, a distinction between the African spirit and the politician sellout of Africa that is keeping Africa down even today. You have to make that distinction. You see, a lot of the nasty things that are taking place, that's not the African spirit. Just sell out Africans, a few bad eggs in Africa who are in, you know, control. They don't represent the heart of Africa and the feelings of Africans. You see, so you need to, you know, open up your mind, and don't allow anybody to deceive you. You know, so I hope we can keep having these conversations. I thank you very much.
And we will. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming on. Dinah Samir, the Kaftan Don. Till next time. Peace.